Welcome to the Musicians Creating Prosperity podcast. Today we're going to talk about how you can turn stress into success, how you can harness the entrepreneurial pressures that we all face to use it as a catalyst for growing your business. Let's dive in. Remember to subscribe so you never miss an episode. What is stress? How do we define stress? Well, stress is this feeling that you have too much on your plate, this feeling of uncertainty. Stress can come from so many reasons in your business. No matter how early or advanced stage you are, there's one thing that you will always have to learn to deal with, which is stress. I remember when I first started my business back in 2011, I remember the uncertainty that I felt. In fact, I was interviewed by PBS as a young entrepreneur at the time, and they asked me, how does it feel to have a business? Like, what would you say? And the first thing that came to my mind, I was only 6 months into starting it, was stress. It was, I have to learn to live with this feeling of uncertainty that things can just change in an instant. This is such an uncharted territory because up until that point, I had been in academia for almost 10 years. I did my bachelor's, then I did a master's, then I did an art certificate, then I did a doctorate degree. At each stage of the process, I was still under the bubble of academia. And it always felt safe to a certain extent. There was like another degree to take. We were on scholarship. So there's okay, now what's the next degree? What's the next degree? And for those of you who've been in many different academic environments, you probably know what I'm feeling. Being inside a university bubble gives you a feeling of stability, of safety. That's an illusion. It's not real, but it gives you that illusion of security. When I finished my final degree and I jumped into starting my business, all of a sudden I felt this huge volatility and vulnerability. And I felt stress. I felt like, wow, things can just change in an instant. There is no guarantee. I don't know what's going to happen. We had some clients that started, but then clients left and others came in. And so as an entrepreneur, as a new entrepreneur, I had to learn to live with that stress and to manage it because otherwise I would have just, I don't know what I would have done, honestly, because I had no plan B. Usually entrepreneurship comes as a result of not having other options, not wanting the other options even. And so stress is something that when you look at it as something that's going to be constant in your life at each stage of your business, whether you're starting, whether you're advanced, and then looking at how you relate to stress as the catalyst for growth is going to make such a difference in the way you handle it. So let's talk about how stress manifests itself physiologically, okay? When we feel stress, when we feel anxiety, when we feel uncertainty, when we feel fear, all of these things can be side effects of stress. Our bodies produce hormones that put us in a fight or flight mode. Physiologically, our body triggers all of the hormonal responses and activates. Our heart starts beating, our hands start sweating, we start feeling anxious, we start feeling short of breath. Learning to mitigate that stress, not only from a mindset standpoint, but also from a physiological standpoint, is going to make or break your ability to deal with it in a healthy way so that it doesn't crash and burn, it doesn't make you break. So let's talk about it physiologically first. If you find yourself feeling stress and you're starting to feel it in your body, the best way you can mitigate that, even before you analyze it and try to break it down and like figure out why you're stressed. No. The best way to mitigate that from a physiological standpoint is literally movement. When you can move your body, which is what it's designed to help you do, the reason why your body creates those hormones is because it wants you to move, to start running, to get away from that threat. When you can have ways of maybe going out for a brisk walk, I actually love having a shaker in my office. I bought myself this little plate that's like a shaker, and it literally shakes your body. It stimulates your blood flow, your lymphatic system, and I literally have it next to my desk. So whenever I'm feeling stressed, maybe I had a challenging conversation, maybe I feel a little anxious, I literally step on that shaker and it shakes me for 10 minutes and it feels so good. Don't just stay seated, right? Because when you are feeling stressed and you're staying stagnant, then your body doesn't know what to do with all those hormones that it's producing, and it turns it into fat. It turns it into toxins, and it's not healthy for you. So number one response is when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling stressed, move, find a way to mitigate that. Think of it as you have to shake those hormones in your body, mix them with everything else so that it starts flowing internally, okay? Now, outside of the physical response to deal with stress, then the next thing that you can do is ask yourself, what are the thoughts that you're putting in your mind that are creating that stressful emotion? Chances are, right before you felt that stress, there was a thought you put in your mind about something that worried you. Maybe you told yourself, you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe you told yourself, what if this thing you're doing is going to fail? Maybe you're concerned about what people think. Maybe you're concerned about what you told someone and how they're responding to it. Maybe you're worried about someone on your team. Maybe it's something around your family. Whatever thought you just told yourself, chances are that thought produced that emotional response that is giving you that feeling of stress. And oftentimes we don't realize that the responses we have cause that stressful state. It's not the event itself. What does this mean? It's our lens. Think of it as your perspective. When things happen to you, how you interpret those events will make or break your ability to handle stress. So, as you may have heard that saying, life is 99% how you react to what happens to you and only 1% what happens to you, right? And I want you to think of it as, how are you interpreting your reality right now? What are the stories you're telling yourself? And oftentimes stress comes from anticipating a future event that you don't want to happen, right? I found myself in many instances finding myself stressed simply because I put a thought in my mind around an event that I didn't want to happen, that hadn't happened, and that I was just putting myself in this future situation that is fictional. It's a lie. And yet I'm living in that moment, and that is what's causing me to feel stressed in the present moment. It's not what's happening in the moment, it's what I'm afraid will happen in the future. And so when you start disconnecting that anxiety for what can happen in the future, and instead start shifting, if you're going to put imagination at place, and you're going to start using your creativity to envision future scenarios, how about you envision what you want to happen and think about the future version of what you were trying to achieve from a positive light instead of a negative one. Chances are you're going to be able to reframe your perspective and start feeling peace and calm immediately when you simply say, what if I envision what I want instead of what I don't want, right? Now, let's talk about managing stress for other people. So sometimes the stress we feel is not ours. Sometimes we are worried about our kids, about our team, about our family, about our clients, and we're letting their stressors influence our state of mind and our state of being. And that's really important that you check in with yourself, because one of the things that I've learned is that we cannot control how other people react to things. And when you disconnect your present state and when you are able to remove your stress from other people's stress, and this doesn't mean don't care about others. I'm not saying that. Of course, you want to care for others, but one thing is to care about others, and another thing is to let other people's stress, other people's worries become yours, right? That's what I'm trying to say. Can you create a boundary between caring for others, wanting others to succeed, and letting other people's problems and other people's stresses impact your state of mind? And that's something that's really, really powerful, because when you realize that the only thing you can control, you may not be able to control what happens to you, you may not be able to control how people react, but what you can control is how you respond to those external factors, how you respond to people's reactions. So especially if you're a mom or a dad and you have kids, it's so tempting sometimes to want to live vicariously through them. And when you see them suffering, then you suffer. When you see them happy, then you're happy. And being able to make those distinctions, to be able to be at peace inside of you, and to be able to say, how many of you have had meltdowns with your kids? My kids are still young, and it's very common, right? Sometimes they have meltdowns. And it's easy to be in a state where you're just like, oh my gosh. But instead, your ability to keep your own internal state of mind in calm and collected way and be the source of comfort for your kids or for your clients or for your team members, seeing your ability to manage stress as one more way of leadership can unlock a new sense of power opportunity for you, because no longer are you now simply worried about how you manage stress. Now you see stress as an opportunity to become a better leader, and not just a leader for others, but most importantly, a leader for yourself. When you can lead yourself, when you can lead your emotions on a day-by-day basis, guess what? You're going to be able to lead others in a much more powerful way. Why? Because you are regulated. You are able to create the mechanisms, whether it's going out for a walk, whether it's taking deep breaths. Immediately by taking deep breaths, box breathing, when you just breathe out for 4 seconds and then you hold for 4 seconds, you breathe in for 4 seconds and you hold there for 4 seconds. I love that technique. Immediately, just by doing that 3 or 4 times, you switch your nervous system from sympathetic mode, which is the fight or flight response, into parasympathetic mode, which is the rest and digest state, right? So taking deep breaths throughout your day, when you're feeling stressed, especially before your meals, if you can take those breaths and switch, how many of you feel that Sometimes you're just going about your day and you're just eating, and just from this place of like, I just got to get through my meal to get to the next thing. That doesn't help your body digest. And so looking at how do you go about your day and where can you insert moments of stillness? Yoga Nidra is one of my go-tos. You can just find some videos on YouTube for 5-10 minutes, listen to it. It'll put you in such a deep state of like relaxation, help you reset your mind. Look for Yoga Nidra videos. You can find a million of those on YouTube. Take deep breaths. Get outside when you can be outside in nature, even if it's a 10-minute, just grounding yourself on earth, whether it's in your garden, whether it's in your patio, whether it's anywhere that you can put your feet on the ground, that immediately grounds you, like it literally grounds you. So I'm giving you a bunch of tactics here, but most importantly, as I said, the most important thing is how you relate to stress. How do you interpret your emotions, and can you see stress as an opportunity to develop more control over yourself, and therefore, as a result of that, leading yourself through it and leading those around you through it. When you can manage your stress better, you can become a better leader, and who doesn't want to become a better leader, right? So I hope this helps you. This is a firepower episode to give you just the nuts and bolts of how you can turn stress into a catalyst for growing, for developing yourself, for better leading yourself and leading others, and not letting stress become a factor to stop you, but instead become a catalyst to help you grow, make a better impact in yourself and in the lives of those you care about. Let's go. I hope this helps you. Share this with those you love. And until next time, let's prosper together.